really proud of the way that the guys just put in the shit.
Hey, what's it like in Brazil right now? Is it warm? Yeah. It's always hot, huh? Yeah.
You really fuck.
This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
You getting that ass, Larry? Know what I mean? You getting that ass, Larry. That's what the fuck you do.
We are enjoying a lot about this time here in...
Why are you holding up a card to indicate a penalty? Like, there's so many different things you can do, and you decide to hold up a card? That's insane to me.
Oh no, I'm stuck. Step bro, come help me.
Where is the vagina? It's a trick question because you can't see it here. You need to part the labia first.
All right, well, the straight red card. Enough labia comments, probably. By the way, do you ever wondered why all the teams, or so many teams in Turkey end with Gucu, like Ankara Gucu? You know what that means, Gucu? Because the city is Ankara. Yep, they throw the Gucu at the end. That means power.
Oh, I was going to say God is what I was going to assume, but
no. And then the other one that's on the end of a lot of the teams is like Antalyaspor, right? Spor.
Yeah.
What's spor mean in Turkish? Sport. So the city is Antalya, but they throw spor at the end. Sport. Antalya Sport, right? So that's why we got so many teams in Turkey ending in Gucu and Sport. A lot of people don't know that. So that explains that. All right. Also, have to say that Dave Chappelle's correct. Swamp butt is real. Swamp butt. You ever had a bad case of the swamp butt?
I'm sure.
It's like when, you feel like you got to go all day, but you can't go. You keep farting, and you got swamp butt, and it's disgusting. And you feel like a disgusting person. I had that last week, and it sucked. Or this weekend. Now, luckily, I was all by myself, so I had swamp butt by myself.
You're just full of hot methane, huh?
Yeah. It just wasn't ready.
Derek, you watch the commercials during The Price is Right when you're home. Eat Beano before, and there'll be no gas. Just take some Beano.
I haven't watched The Price is Right for like 30 years. Bob Barker was still there, for Christ's sake. By the way, have you ever had a drink called a rusty nail?
No.
I want to make one because it's Frank Sinatra's favorite drink, but it's Scotch and Drambuie mixed together with a big ass ice cube. I think that would be great for the show. By the way, 69 of you here now. Giggity.
Hey, I can see it finally. Yeah.
I know. Make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. Welcome to Straight Red Card. We got a lot to cover tonight. We won't do too much sniveling and boasting and telling you we told you so. We probably will have Tack and I've been talking about having him come on so we can debate this topic, right? This whole Reyna thing. Because he's still, although Pete's giving it. Pete's like, yeah, all right. He shouldn't leave in winter.
Yeah.
Tack's still sticking to it. So, we do have to see how the next, however many games are left in the season go.
Mm-hmm.
But I just don't see them all of a sudden after starting him 2 games in a row, even if Julian Brandt comes back.
Yeah.
And we'll get into that. Right?
Yeah. It's interesting because any form of loan out would have to include some kind of a buyout clause, right?
Well, and the lawless loan, as you pointed out, completely idiotic to MLS.
Yeah. But I mean,
how many games would he even get to play before he has to go back?
What price tag would Dortmund put for a buyout at that point, or buyout clause or whatever?
I don't know.
Say, hey, if you're interested in him, he's going to be 18 million,
not 12.
Not 12. Yeah.
Yeah.
Because that's their overall game plan, and we'll get into that too.
Yep. Also, want to mention there's a guy in my school that I teach at who just continues to walk around the hallway saying, hey, man, would you oil up for me? What does that mean? Would you oil up for me?
Okay. Are you talking about a student saying this?
Yeah,
Okay.
to other teachers and other students and me. I just laughed. I just said, what?
I don't know what that means at all.
Would you oil up for me? Okay. Sounds a little perverse. I told him it sounded a little freaky, frankly. So we'll try to find the Conradino or Jimmy Conrad quote. We'll try to squeeze that in here. By the way, Pete didn't know on the show yesterday that Bob Bradley's been fired. He no longer coaches at Steinbach in Norway. I probably should send him a message about that so he doesn't keep saying it. Although I don't know why you would keep saying it. It's just that somebody said the real critics of U.S. soccer that you can still depend on to make sensible arguments are Clint Dempsey, Bob Bradley, blah, 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 blah. But and Pete's kind of like, well, Bob Bradley's coaching in Norway. No, he hasn't been coaching in Norway for a couple months. It's been over for a while. So there's that. Also, that Rule 34 channel has some weird shit on it, man.
Channel or are you talking about a site?
The site.
Okay. Yeah.
I watched a lesbian cow and a lesbian woman who had this is a cartoon who was also a reindeer have sex with each other's tidbits briefly, because I said, what the fuck am I watching? This is some weird shit. They need to make those preview squares a little bit bigger because you can't really see what's going on. Anyhow, I'm a curious guy, so I check stuff out. And I also saw a weird, this is the weird deer woman also sucked off a walking, talking lion. And that was in the next slide. And I'm thinking, this is just, who the fuck's into this?
So as far as I'm familiar with it and everything, like Rule 34 is just pictures. They're just drawn.
No,
pictures,
these are videos.
They have videos, huh?
Mm-hmm. Now you're interested, aren't you?
Well, I was gonna say, it's one thing to draw, but man, to draw some kind of an animation doing it. No, are they kind of like GIF type of animations?
No, they're like animations. Legit animations. Yeah, legit animations that look like the Lion King and shit. All right.
AI so more powerful tool, I guess.
I just don't know why, if you have all of the freedom to be creative that you do, why that's a thing. I don't get it. I'm curious, so I checked it out, and I still don't get it, obviously. I'm trying to figure it out. Maybe someone can explain it to me. Anyhow,
Doom Ultima says Derek's discovered furry prawn, although I know he does that so that you can get away with saying porn. So it's some people do that so they don't get blocked by certain
you can't say that, right?
Porn word, yeah. Al Weinstein goes, I like the squid. I like it when the squid invades all the holes. Brett, what's that called again? Is he talking about hentai? You talking about hentai?
I'm not sure I'm a big fan of that. Tentacle porn. Yeah, I'm not sure I'm into that either. It's just, I don't know, kind of weird. But, hey, whatever busts your buddy, whatever gets you through the night. Also, I had the Popeyes Louisiana sweet and spicy wings this weekend. They're pretty spicy on the 7th wing. You're kind of like, that's a little hot, but they are tasty. They are really tasty, I have to say. All right, Judgmental Didi says straight regard. I'd start at 34, 36 mark, and then maybe skip a minute or two before 39. Just checked and forgot. Miola added onto Jimmy's point that Charlie and chat is great on.
The video that in question is Jimmy brings up Camp Cupcake. And apparently,
not again.
And apparently, Chuck goes on a rant at the 39th minute. So,
well, because Jimmy's still like, oh, Camp Cupcake, it made it for me. Well, dude, that was so long ago, Jimmy. We love you, but come on, dude. Camp Cupcake is way out. Unless it's in all, as we said here and others have said, unless it's a youth camp. Okay? Yeah. Then I'm fine with it. If it's not a youth camp, fuck it. I don't think it's worth the time. Most likely not going to be worth the time. All right. So that's all the bullshit I had, Brett. And that lasted about 10 minutes. So
all right.
I've got Yanks Abroad as well for the weekend. We'll get to that later.
Yep.
All right.
All right. Let's jump into the soccer fluff to start off with.
You a soccer fluff. All right.
Just soccer fluff in general.
Oh, Jimmy said Zimmerman should get a call up too.
Oh, you're already spoiling it, I guess.
Well, that's what Fulmar said in the comments.
Yeah.
Imagine being an MLS Ultra fan and also being Brazilian. Yesterday was a bad day for this kid, and now he's kicking and doing some somersaults to justify it.
So did you know that Tact was a MLS Ultra?
No.
So Tact does go. He goes, I have been insulted multiple times in this app. I've been called every single name in the book, but MLS Ultra is where I draw the line. I've never been so offended in my life. And then I said, sounds like Martin found out that you have an Orlando City tattoo, though I don't think he's figured out where. It's okay, Tact. It's time to face the music.
No, I don't think
he
so.
does. He does go on to say, hey, just don't tell him where the tattoo is placed. And I go, hey, snitches get stitches. I'm no rat.
So you've seen his penis. All right.
Well, I'm saying, where could you possibly put an Orlando City tattoo at? Right?
Yeah, asshole. Right around the anus.
I like what I was alluding to. But yeah.
All right. For the 112 of you now, make sure you like, subscribe, share it with your grandma. We appreciate you being here so early. That's on Twitter, X, and on YouTube. We've got a lot of cover tonight because, of course, we got the whole Reyna thing to talk about because I don't know if people are coming to their senses or not. And I feel like we were the only show who's been telling you the truth the whole time about what Dortmund's plans were because we read the fucking German press on a regular basis while other shows do not. So you don't even need to read German to do that. It's called translation.
I love the chat. Here we go. Let's see. First off, Judgmental Deity goes, Tact is as much as MLS Ultra as Berhalter is a good manager.
Good manager, true.
Boomar says, time to pay off Spicy Jeff.
Yep.
Tact's Brazilian Go says, his beehole.
Yep.
Spicy Jeff knows where it's at. Tact has an Orlando City tattoo on his massive cockhead.
Oh, it's massive, is it, Jack? All right. By the way, I am tonight drinking a Duvel. That is how it's pronounced in Belgium. I was been corrected many years ago. And
how did you say originally? You were saying Duvel?
Duvel, yeah. That's what it looks like to me, right?
Yeah.
So 9.5 alcohol. Great Belgian beer. I think one of the best. Gold nails. This is a Belgian Strong Blonde. Belgian Strong Blonde. Well worth it. You can find it in, around here, Total Wine and More, right? Total Wine? Mm.
Okay.
Oh, that's
right.
tasty.
We're going to listen to some Jimmy.
Okay, Jimmy. Don't make it too painful, buddy.
What the next couple of months are going to look like. But this January camp could prove to be more meaningful for Pochettino and the coaching staff than ever before.
What?
Because he's getting exposed to certain players that he hasn't seen before. So I wonder if a Walker Zimmerman, he most recently played for us at the Olympics.
Did you see Chuck's
solid
face?
Yes, Jim. Yeah.
What's Chuck's face here?
Chuck's already saying fuck this shit.
Okay, he most recently played for us at the Olympics. Solid leader, has that gravitas. If you want to play a back from a World Cup experience, want to play
you love. There's nothing more that you love than bringing up Walker Zimmerman.
No
I don't know
shit.
if you're getting paid.
No kidding. Thank you, Chuck. I mean, Chuck said some crazy shit too, but Jimmy pushing this fucking goddamn Christmas time January camp narrative bullshit is at this point, it's sad. It's SAD sad. And if you did it on our show, we would have reacted the same way. Our heads would have been, what are you talking about? Jimmy, it's like our old argument with him about when he said formations don't matter. We're like, yes, they do. What are you talking about? So then he came around on that 8 years later. And now we're having this stupid discussion. And this is not the first time Jimmy, Trash Can, Conrad, right? Because the trash can incident.
Right? There's another one. What's his other nickname? Cream Cheese or something like that?
Yeah, Jimmy Cream Cheese, Conrad. It's not the first time the Cream Cheese has brought up this powder puff issue, and he gets like almost an erection every time he discusses it. He gets excited about it. Hey, Jimmy, I understand that Camp Cupcake was important for you. It is not going to be important for Poach. This is a joke. Unless it's a youth camp where we get to bring in Kevin Sullivan and some of these developing young players, maybe that would be interesting to see. But if we're bringing in MLS guys like Jordan Morris, guys we've seen 1,000 times, Jesus Ferreira, Paul Areola, Walker Zimmerman, we know who those guys are. We know who they are. No one needs to see them again. We know who they are. Period. We don't need to see them. Poach doesn't need to see them either. It doesn't matter. Poach's eyeballs seeing them aren't going to change who they are. And we know who they are. All of them. So, anyhow.
I guess, I mean, ultimately, the biggest question when it comes to this Camp Cupcake is Poach looking past the 2026 World Cup? I know they mentioned beforehand that Poach has a plan for post 2026, but obviously his contract only goes through 2026.
Yeah, you want to get excited about something Poach may or may not be doing correctly. And that's going to be Nathaniel Brown and Henry Chase not getting a fucking phone call. That's a problem. That's an issue. That's something you can get excited about and maybe get a boner or an anti-boner for. But not Camp Cupcake, Jimmy. Enough's enough. Go ahead. You can finish this. I don't know how much more it is, but
I mean, let's
bring him up.
Go to the ring.
But you honestly, at every chance, bring up Walker Zimmerman to be in the conversation.
Yes, that's fine because I see him as a reflection of how I used to be. And
oh my God, Jimmy, quit pushing your own narrative. This is what Landon Donovan does. Don't turn your story into the lens of which you see everything. That's being myopic. That's not being an open-minded person selfish it from the most objective viewpoint you possibly can. That's not being a transparent eyeball. That's being a fucking selfish person who sees everything through only one lens, their brain, their experience. Well, that makes generally a shitty fucking, commentator. I think most people would agree with that. The idea is to come at it with an open mind and use the facts, the information. You're trying to be as objective as you. Of course, there's some amount of subjectivity, but here he just fully out admits it. Well, it's about me. No, it's not about you, and it's not about your experience. I'm sorry. Times have changed. There was a time when half the team were MLS players. Well, those days are done. You might get one, maybe two, if you're lucky, that make Poach's teams full big boy teams going forward. Maybe three at most if there's, an accident or two or somebody catches the clap. But other than that, I don't think that's happening.
We've talked about this before, but we both have said that I would like Camp Cupcake to become a youth camp as a whole.
Yes.
I'm sorry if I'm repeating some stuff that you may have said a second ago. My daughter came downstairs now at 8:34 when she's been in bed for about 30 minutes saying that she hasn't had her post dinner snack. I'm like, you can go grab a chip. Just go to fuck bed, But no. So sorry if I repeat something you said already.
Mm-hmm.
But we've talked about how we want this to be kind of like a youth tournament, youth game or window, quite frankly. So you can start looking forward into the future, maybe who you want to start integrating into the actual senior squad. I will say I can understand where Jimmy's coming from to an extent. Obviously, he has that experience where this was his entry.
That's what window, I said.
Yeah, his entry window into the U.S. men's national team, and he's looking. Although Zimmerman's a bad example because obviously he's been to a World Cup.
Yep.
But this is a new coach, and you're looking at limited windows. This might be the only chance that Zimmerman has an opportunity to impress Poach. Okay, well, I mean, do well at your club, and maybe you'll get a call up to the big boys, not friendly or whatever. But I would much rather this be an introduction for our U23s start getting more time at the big boy level and start getting up in there.
Yeah.
Up in there.
And Johnny, I did not jerk off Zimmerman at the World Cup, dude. Like, you are so sensitive about that. All I said is he wasn't responsible for this goal or that goal. And you're like, oh, God, even though he wasn't around for it. Yes, he was. No, he wasn't. And that's about being fair, right? That's all I'm saying. We got to be fair. When Zimmerman's shit, we've called him out for being shit. When he's not. And he certainly doesn't deserve to go forward on this team. And I just think this – go ahead. You can continue to play it. But
yeah, I just didn't want that necessarily to be a whole harp on Jimmy thing. Even though we disagree with him on this front, I understand where he's coming from.
I know.
But I want Game Cupcake to move on. At this point, if you're a 28, 29-year-old center back, you've had ample time within the league to impress U.S. soccer to get your call-ups. At that point, give it them.
Do you understand where I'm coming from, where I'm telling Jimmy, you cannot – every opinion you have about every player and the camp itself cannot always come through your own personal lens. At some point, you got to say, listen, I got to be objective. I can't thrust my personal story into every fucking every time we do an analysis of something. I mean, yes, bring some of your experience, but don't personalize it so much that you can't see the forest through the trees. And that's where Jimmy's problem is, and he fully admits it here, at least.
Yeah, I guess ultimately, look at it from the standpoint of what's going to improve U.S. soccer as a whole. Is giving a 28, 29, 30-year-old center back or a striker and somebody like Brian White another opportunity at that point really going to help us?
No.
Or is bringing in a young, youthful, even MLS Next Pro style player, but the future, if you will, to give them a shot to start impressing and move forward with their career?
I mean, I would love to see Matthias Albert and some of the hotter players in Europe too come, but they're not going to be let go for this. So we're going to get what we get. It'll probably be the typical camp that we're used to seeing of a bunch of MLS guys who've been, haven't played for a few weeks now or more. And
there's been a few 23s in MLS that you could feel the team that, maybe some of them may not amount to much, but I mean, you could still give them their opportunity at that point.
Well, this also comes down to this. This always happens with the coaches too. Like, all right, so I bring a U21 or a U23 team. Well, and then we're going to play Venezuela and this other team, and we're going to lose. It's going to make me look bad.
Yes, that's 100% true. I mean, that's another thing to consider.
Mm-hmm.
So,
and we don't want to look bad. I know we're fulfilling the contract that U.S. Soccer has with TV, but I don't want to look bad doing it. So I'm not calling a bunch of young kids up. I'm going to pick some guys that I think can still play, who are older and have some experience, so we don't look like fools.
When I do kind of like an Olympic squad where you can have a couple of overage players called in.
I don't even think they risk that. Not against Venezuela, It's a good team. I mean, it's not a great team. Costa Rica is not a great team, but they're competitive. They'll be competitive.
So it's not a FIFA window. So, I mean, how many of those players – I mean, Costa Rica, obviously, a lot of the players are going to be in MLS and stuff like that. But, I mean, how many – what are we going to be expecting from Venezuela's side? I mean, I don't know where their team generally plays. What players
it's hard. It really is hard to say. But, there are plenty of Costa Rican players, as you said, in MLS and USL. So we'll see. But I think both teams, we'll all be seeing B or C teams. But I don't think we're going to see youth teams. I'd like to see youth teams fill this contract window, this TV contract window, but I don't think we're going to see it from any of the teams. Nobody likes to lose, even friendlies.
Sure.
Even Camp Cupcake friendlies, which are completely so meaningless at this point.
Exactly. From my standpoint, if they came out and they flat out said, hey, you know what? We're getting our U23 some chances against some big boys. They're going to be playing – they're adults in their own right. They should be they're playing adults already. I don't know. Yeah. You could probably feel the starting 11 of U23s in MLS that are playing week in, week out at MLS.
I mean, the problem, Fumar, with Josh Winder and other examples in Europe were – I don't think a lot of those teams are going to let them go. Justin Che, that guy's career is in a total shit can right now. So, he's got so much work to do from all his yabbity stuff that he said when he went over there. So to Germany.
I mean, if Poach came out there and said, "Hey, Dortmund, we'd really like Mr. Albert
or Cole Campbell."
Cole Campbell, I can understand because at least he's getting sub minutes in some games, but he's on the bench. I understand not releasing him.
Yep.
But Matisse Albert is playing with U19s and the second team or whatever. It's like at that point, like
as a 15-year-old,
you could sit there. I don't know if he's on the second team, but at least the U19s. But you can sit there and say, "Hey, we'd like to call him in. This is going to be kind of a youthful roster, and we'd like to get him some minutes against some international quality. So would you mind if we take him for a week and a half, 2 weeks?" I can see Dortmund letting something like that go by, but like Cole Campbell, I don't see Cole Campbell ever going to get released because again he's cracking the bench on a Champions League squad.
Yeah, I think it's just going to be what we're used to. Is there more to this? You think?
Well, I mean, we at least got Chuck's rant.
Okay, let's do it. Chuck's rant.
Let me play this for like another 15 seconds. If nothing amounts to anything, then we'll go to the rant.
Okay.
I don't think we should have given up on him, as it feels like we have given up on him.
Yes,
and I know he's been injured. So okay, we give him a January camp. You get him a.
Okay, he's just talking about.
He's just doing more Zimmerman.
It's all on Zims.
Let's go to the rant.
39 even, I think is what he said.
Yep.
And either A, I'm going to talk with him and his coach at MLS and see what the pathway is moving forward, or B, this guy's destined for Europe and he doesn't need my help. And I need to prepare what that plan looks like going forward versus I'm going to have the riffraff in MLS come and be in this.
Ooh,
riffraff.
That's about as serious as Chuck's ever gotten about calling out Camp Cupcake in a very nasty way. Good for Truck.
I mean, it's also quite frankly a bash against MLS at that point.
Yes, that is.
It's like, hey, you'll be aging out, riffraff.
Okay, listen. If MLS, we watch it on a weekly basis, and props to New York Red Bulls for starting 4 starters in the final that were American. Well, most of the teams in the playoffs started 2 Americans on the whole team, and one of them was usually the goalie. So there you go. Like, something's not going on properly in MLS if 2 Americans play per team, or 2.6 or whatever the number is. Okay, call it 3, are starting games in the playoffs for the teams that made the playoffs. So, yeah, in that case, what you are mostly seeing is riffraff in the Camp Cupcake because they're not even close to the best players in MLS. That's totally riffraff. If you're playing in MLS and you're an American, like Landon Donovan was for years, you want to be one of the best players, like Clint Dempsey did when he came here, like Michael Bradley did when he came here. And briefly, so did Josie Altidore. They were all some of the best players in MLS while they were here. Well, who are the best Americans in MLS these days? There are a handful, and that's about it.
Yeah. A lot of them are, you're looking at the best Americans. You're going to be looking at a lot of youth with potential at that point.
Yes. Exactly. Like RSL's homeboy.
Luna. Moonboy. Yeah.
Diego Luna. Right.
We'll continue. Let's listen to Outside the Riffraff.
In this camp. So for me, maybe you have 1 or 2 to kind of set the tone. I've been here before. This is how we train. This is how we communicate for the younger guys who are just coming up to that level. But at the same time, I want to see fresh new blood. I want to see fresh players coming in who have potential, have shown something that Pochettino can go.
Potential to what, Charlie? To what? Pochettino's like, what if this were the first of a 4-year cycle? I can understand. And if you
so that's the point I was kind of making there too. Is Poch looking past 2026, or if he's just looking to 2026? Because why would he be Why would there be an incentive for him to bring in the U23s?
He has no obligation to do that
if he's not looking past 2026. If he's looking just to 2026, and then maybe he's no intention of moving forward at that point, then why would he ever bother?
Why would he bother bringing Kevin Sullivan and Matisse Albert and Diego Coach? And I mean, he might, but why? There's no real incentive for him to do that. He's just looking to win these games because it makes us look bad if we don't.
When it makes him look good if he does.
Right.
So, like if he's not looking past 2026, he's like, I got to win every single game I can. I need a good outing in the World Cup, and then I'm moving on.
Yeah, I don't know if there's any. Obviously, U.S. Soccer has talked about. Well, we'll see where it goes after the World Cup and how it all went, and then we'll talk some more. But I don't think anybody is really, that confident that he'll be back after 4. So. I think this is, a one cycle sort of thing, not 4, but a 1 cycle. So we'll see.
You're going to have some of those guys inherently, but like what is Pochettino looking for in that camp? He's got to be looking for one guy that could help him at the World Cup, right?
Yep.
If it's young guys, it's young guys. If it's old guys, it's old guys.
I mean, obviously he's here for the World Cup, but you want to set this national team up for the future. So
but can he do that?
What MLS is for. You're not you're not an MLS star and saying, "Oh, I'm here to play on the national team." Pochettino knows what MLS is about. He's here for looking for the scouting for young players for the future, or who maybe can make the jump from after this season, so that in 2026 they're good to go and they're playing in a good situation for Europe
in the World
ahead
Cup.
Of the World Cup,
you're talking about
right?
At the World
same
Cup,
time,
right?
Yeah, at the World Cup. But at the same time, you're not unearthing some 30-year-old gem in MLS. You're not.
You gotta stop it from the time.
Yeah. All right. Well, that's probably his point. Is there more to this, guys? I don't know, but
yeah, I mean, it really begs the question. And I think Tony actually hits the nail on the head, quite frankly, by saying he's looking for like one player to come in, possibly help out. And whether that's a 28-year-old center back, 29-year-old center back, or a 30-year-old striker who can put the ball in the back of the net. Or maybe it's an 18-year-old kid straight out of the academy, as long as they're capable. But if he's not looking long term, why would he even worry about possibly bringing in a roster full of young kids? You and I want that, but
I mean, you could definitely bring in Tolkien. I think that's a good look. Vasquez and Zendejas are done. You could bring them in, I suppose. They're on the cusp, right? Obviously. So bring the cusp guys in, and then maybe bring a few new faces in that had good seasons, really good seasons. One of the Nealis brothers, I think, had a good season for Red Bull. Maybe he gets a shot. I don't know, and I guess we'll find out. But I can't get too invested in this because we don't know. And I really do think that most coaches, managers, even if it's a camp cupcake, don't like to lose. So I think we might see Morris. I think we could see some standard players we're used to seeing. Miles Robinson is a good example of that as well. This is it?
This is the camp cupcake from the beginning of 2024.
Right.
So just going down the list, you got Schulte, who's in the mix, Moore, who's out, Tolkien, who's on the outside looking in still.
Mm-hmm. Kamungo, Baratarovic, who we've lost to Bosnia-Herzegovina, Josh Atencio, Jack McGlynn, Aiden Morris, who's moved on to Middlesbrough. I don't think that had anything to do with Camp Cupcake, though.
No.
Diego Luna, Caleb Wiley off to Strasbourg. Had nothing to do with this Camp Cupcake. Timmy Tillman, I guess. Azeel Jackson, Brian White. Yeah, no need to see him again. Duncan McGuire had a very poor season for Orlando. Yeah, I'm sure it's going to look a lot like this.
Of this roster, though, you're looking at what, like 3 potential names? And what, Schulte, potentially Tolkien, I guess, but he's not outside looking in. So just Schulte at this point. Asmir would have been in contention, but he ended up switching over. And Aiden Morris. Those two? Do you see anybody else, really?
Nope.
So Schulte and Morris. Those are the only two. So to Miola's point, that one, maybe 2 players is the equivalent of what we've seen with the past team.
But none of these players ever really would have gotten a look at the big boy team unless if you are John Tolkien, you're one of the best Americans playing in MLS. If you're Caleb Wiley, you go to Strasbourg and have immediate effect, even though you're injured now. if you are Aiden Morris, who goes over to Middlesbrough and starts off like just hot, really hot for Middlesbrough, immediately becomes their main man, their quarterback at the center midfield spot, if you will. So all those guys made their argument for becoming a U.S. men's national team, at least outside looking in or just barely in, and sometimes getting a chance because of injuries, because of what they did when they left MLS, not because of what they did in this camp or what they did in MLS. You got to leave. You want to go play for the U.S. men's national team at this point. You got to use your MLS season, because this camp ain't going to do it, and launch yourself overseas and find a team, even if it's championship level, as we've seen from Aiden Morris and others that play in the championship, Josh Sargent, etc. Haji Wright.
Mr. Wright, yeah.
You can make your name there. And that is a brutal league. And it is very competitive. And if you can dominate in it, I think it's a better league overall than Major League Soccer. I just think it is. So, yeah, that's what it's going to take. Playing in MLS, I don't think is going to do it anymore. Winkley Gonzalez, 199. Thoughts of the UEFA draw for the World Cup? I have nothing on this one yet. I'd have to go look it over.
Yeah, I haven't really looked it over. I can pull it up if you want to talk about it, I guess.
I mean, I don't know. I mean, that's something we plan to discuss tonight at all.
Yeah.
But is there something I'm missing here? Is there something controversial? Let us know. But I don't have any comment on that right now.
Just going over the roster, or not the roster, I'm going to phrase that. The group stage, I guess.
For the World Cup? World Cup?
No, it's talking about? Like the World Cup qualifying for UEFA.
Oh, okay. He's talking about qualifying. I'm just like, there is no draw yet for the World Cup. So there's that. Derek J. Word off to Morris during Mexico. What? I don't know what that means, Johnny. These are some baffling comments to me right now.
How does their qualifying work? Just because he brought up the chat. Let's briefly just look something over here.
Okay,
I don't understand.
I don't either.
It works. So here's like Group A, and the first person in the group is either going to be Germany or Italy.
You want
what
to
happens
show
to
it?
what happens to the? Oh shit! You can't see that.
He meant for the European World Cup qualifiers. That's what he's saying here.
Yeah.
Do we have the draw for that yet? Okay.
So.
All right. We don't even know. We don't even know who's going to be there, Germany or Italy.
Why is that a thing? What happens if it's Germany versus Italy? Who loses? What happens to the loser? Do they go here? Where does loser go?
I think they move to a different group, maybe.
Oh, yeah, you're right. Well,
maybe.
Yeah, it's got to be it. That's got to be it.
So
yeah, okay.
How about we get back to this when it's complete? It's not complete. So it's either this team or that team as the number one seed in the group. So let's just wait. We'll get to that, Winkley. I do promise you that. But we were not ready to cover that tonight.
No.
All right.
So to your point, because you had mentioned about these players and the players who are in contention had to make that move abroad. That kind of takes us into another topic we've been talking about for a while here. Actually, let's talk about Gio and his potential of moving or going to MLS.
You know what? And somebody else made this point, and I've made it too. The jump from going to Dortmund to MLS is so fucking massive. It's a giant crevasse. Why would you go from A all the way to MNOP? How about you go from A to B to C to D? Option B, option C, option D. You don't go, we're going to skip the B, C, D, E, F, G, H, I, J, and we're just going to go straight to an MLS club, which is somewhere around LMNOP.
Mm-hmm.
Well, why would we do that? That's why this is a very frustrating comment from Alexi Lawless, not to mention his article, which was basically saying, yeah, you should go to loan on to LA Galaxy.
Consider a loan to LA Galaxy, yeah, which we've talked about. And it's ignoring aspects of what's been building up to this point. It's like they just look at it like, well, Gio should consider doing this. Well, it's not up to Gio, quite frankly. It's not up to Gio.
Not just him, right?
It's predominantly up to Dortmund and what they want to do.
And we're the only show that have talked consistently for months now, probably 6 months, maybe 8, Brett, about what Dortmund's plans for Gio Raina were going to be when he got healthy and was fit. We have said it here a million times. We have described why Terzic got fired. We've given you quotes from the BVB board about why they were irritated with Terzic and why Sahin was brought in the first place, and how Dortmund lost over $80 million on new signings and young players while Terzic was in command. And they fired him for that, not because they thought he was a shite coach. They said, you're ruining what we do here. Dortmund is a selling team. We bring in young players, we develop them, we make them stars here in Germany, and then other people come in and they buy them. That's what Dortmund does. We have described this so many countless times. And it's like people look at this situation with Reyna and Dortmund like it's a black hole. Like there's no information whatsoever. They're just throwing out opinions on a topic they haven't researched thoroughly. I'm not talking about everybody, but a lot of people sound like they're talking out of their assholes. And so this idea that he's leaving in the winter on loan to somewhere, or that he's going to be bought out for whatever itsy-bitsy amount of money that Dortmund's not going to take. They're going to keep him and continue to build him back up. And then you had your idiot friend that you were having this conversation with earlier, who's like, well, you just don't understand. They got Reyna at for a pittance.
We're jumping over that. Okay, 1 second, hold on. So basically to your point, what you've been saying, I wrote, Gio has spent near 3 out of his 5 years at Dortmund injured and has seen his market value drop from 40 to 12 million. Dortmund are either going to push for a sale this summer or an extension to his contract, possibly a new one. Given his history of injuries, I believe they are going to keep this season close to their chest. Sahin likes him. He'll get playing time even if Brandt returns, perhaps not consistent 70 or starts, but playing time nonetheless. They'll want to recoup as much of the market value as possible, and a season-long loan would weaken their position with only a season-long loan, would weaken their position with only half a year left on his contract, because that's a big thing. The reason why we're talking about a 6-month loan is because that gives them the summer window to wheel and deal whatever they can, because they only have 1 year left on his contract.
Correct.
And nobody's going to want to go into the last year of a contract like that on a player that they can make money off of,
right?
Without a guarantee of sale or extension. So
Correct.
They're either going to extend his contract or they're going to sell his ass. Simple
That's
as
right. Right. And they ain't doing it this winter. And then your good little friend here says, recoup what? He didn't cost them anything, so anything they get for him is pure profit. So what they want to maximize the fee, but there's really nothing to recoup. Hey, dumbass, have you ever bought a house and have it go from, in one case, like say you bought it for, let's just make up numbers. You bought it for $80,000 and now it's worth $2 million. And let's say you just don't take care of it because you're a lazy fuck. And then you want to sell it when you're in dire need to sell it because you need the money and you'd like to move. But everybody looks at your house and go, well, it's not worth $2 million anymore. It's worth $80,000, $100,000. Well, you know what you just lost in value there? Almost $2 million. And that's what happened with Gio Raina. This guy doesn't understand how money works. That is the whole Dortmund plan. You bring in players, young players, you develop them. They become $40 million players, as Reyna did, market value-wise. Well, guess what? Now he's down to $12 million again. All right. He passed 12 million 3 years ago, easily with no problem, all the way up to 40. Okay. And now if you sell him for a pittance, you just lost in former assets that you just you had on hand, $40 million worth of potential asset there that you were going to gain from the sale of this player. Now you're going to make a pittance compared to it. So, you essentially lost $28 million. And if you don't know how that works, dude, then you would be a horrible business owner. You would be a wretched CEO of any company, because that's not how this works. People want to make money. That's why Dortmund have held on to him. They want to rebuild and recoup his value.
So he does go on to say, because I mentioned how, like, prior to his injury, he was worth 40 million plus the Turzik era. He's down. They've lost nearly 28 million in said value, and they want to recoup that as much as they can. They're not going to recoup all 28 million by any means, but maybe they get an extra 6 to 8 million in market value as a whole. Yeah. He followed up by saying they lost nothing. It's all make believe until there's an offer that they accept.
Then he lives in a make believe world.
To use your example of a house, Derek, it'd be like you have a $2 million house, and somebody comes up to you and says, "Hey, I want to buy this house. I'm going to give you $100,000." Well, then you're like, "Well, I'm not going to sell that."
Right.
But then you hold on to it longer and longer and longer, and you need to offload it. Eventually, the value does decrease until you find somebody who's willing to pay the value at that point. So the 40 million that he was worth, yes, maybe they wouldn't get 40 million for him, but his value as a player at that point is promising in talent, what he can provide, what he was doing for Dortmund at that point, would still net him close to that point, that talking point, because that's just a talking point, and then there's negotiation at that point.
Sure,
but it's stupid to say, like, well, they haven't lost anything. Well, he's not gonna warrant after 6 months of playing here. He's not gonna warrant anywhere close to what he was gonna warrant prior to his injuries.
And yes, they have lost things. You don't think that player investment and development costs money, dummy? It does cost money. And they have been working on this guy, and not to mention all the money they poured into making him healthy again. Yeah. You think that's for free? Strength and honor? You think that's free? Nothing's free, dude. All right? He doesn't just lollygag around and feed himself there at Dortmund and do all his training for free. They've been paying him a fucking salary for a reason, to sell him down the road for a shitload of money. That's what Dortmund do. And they had him worth 40 million in market value at one point. And they probably would have gotten 36 or 34, but now it's down to 12. They're not happy about it. Go read the fucking board comments from Dortmund. That is why Turzik is fired. Because he lost them money, lots of it. Over $80 million in transfer market value on players they had either just signed or young players that they were developing. Combine it, they were down 80 million. So anyhow, it's like people don't really pay attention to this or don't know what they're talking about. So
yeah, so again, I know Lawless had mentioned Lawless's whole point really is he should consider MLS as an option for a loan, so that he can get playing time, so he can start getting into that groove of things when he moves forward. And the World Cup's right around the corner. He can't. The situation at Dortmund's not that great. This is obviously, he initially said this prior to him getting the 2 starts, but he did double down today.
Yes.
I mean, getting 20, 30 minutes a game moving forward. Let's just say Brandt comes back and Gio gets 20 to 30 minutes a game every game for the remainder of the season. It's not ideal, but that's better.
Yep.
And he's still increasing his value as a whole there. So,
and with as many injuries as Dortmund has, which is a shit ton.
Yeah.
There'll be other opportunities. Okay.
Well, just player rotation as a whole. They got Pokal, they got Champions League, and they got a regular season. I mean, Brandt comes back, he's not going to play every single game.
No, he can't. But not his age.
So, but yeah, so people continued asking questions about his stance, and
I don't like it when he's this stubborn. Sometimes you got to eat crow.
Yeah, it happens.
You just do.
So the Galaxy Loco guy says, would you rather be riding a bench in Europe or become a legendary hero for an MLS club like now? Like Puig did with Galaxy after leaving Barcelona at the age of 22. He's got the big my argument with this argument here with him is that he has no international future with Spain.
No.
So he makes a jump to MLS where he's going to get shit ton more money, and he's a solid enough player.
Right? Why aren't Dortmund going after Ricky Puig? I'm a Galaxy fan because he's a really good MLS player, but he's probably about a championship level player, a really good championship level player. He's no Dortmund player. He's not a Dortmund player. There are no players playing on the Galaxy that are Dortmund level players. Period. End of fucking story. So that's why I replied to Alexi, which he shared.
He reposted it, yeah.
He reposted it. I just wish I knew why he reposted it. Did he agree with it? Did he like it? Did he want to see me get bashed by Galaxy fans? Because none of them have bashed me. 8,000 views later, nobody's bashing me. I said, this isn't a question. A healthy Reyna all day. Would Puig even play at Dortmund? No, I don't think so. And I'm a Galaxy supporter. And I love Ricky Puig. And I thought the Galaxy had a great season. I had a fun time watching it. But don't tell me Ricky Puig's playing, starting in the Champions League for Dortmund against Barcelona, because that is not happening. And by the way, isn't Ricky Puig older? He's like 3 years older than Reyna?
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
Please.
Yeah. So I said my argument was no, because this is in reference to because somebody had said like Puig all day. And Alexi responded by saying, how is that possible? He plays in MLS.
Oh, Jesus.
I said, no one is saying that good players can't play in MLS. The reason people are dismissing MLS as an option for Gio is because they feel he has better options in Europe.
Well, that's maybe why he reposted my comments. He thought guys would go after me.
And I followed up by saying he may have to go the Pulisic route and take a pay cut, given. But I would prefer our players to challenge themselves at the highest level at a consistent rate. Gio has shown he's capable at the Bundesliga level.
Absolutely.
So why would you make the leap down to MLS at that point?
Oh yeah.
Could imagine there's got to be some bottom half table of La Liga or Serie A or even Bundesliga that would be coming and knocking. Say, hey, we could use this guy on our team.
Celta Vigo, Mallorca, in Serie A, Fiorentina. There are plenty of teams. If this doesn't work out for Dortmund by the summer, that would probably pump out 10, 12, 8 million for them. If Dortmund have truly given up. If they have truly given up, it doesn't look like they've given up. They hired Sahin to play the young players, which he's doing.
Mm-hmm.
All right. Who was the other tiny little guy that was playing with Dortmund in the last game? I forgot his name. Anyhow, he's getting more playing time. And now Reyna's getting playing time. Now you could argue, as so many people have, when Brent comes back, he's gone. We've already explained that Dortmund are injury riddled. And that might be one good reason to get him out of Dortmund, frankly, because their whole team is a fuckfest of injuries.
Yeah.
I mean, if you made that argument to me, I'd be like, okay, I'm along with that one.
I know people are like, dude, it's cringe when you guys bring up the medical staff at Dortmund and stuff like that. I'm like, at some point though, even if the medical staff's not the problem, maybe it's just how he's addressed at that specific club. Maybe he needs to get, somewhere else. He needs to go somewhere else.
Adiemi, thank you, Broken Furnace Recordings. Adiemi is the guy I was talking about that also is getting playing time now and is healthy. So will there be a time when Julian Brandt's back? Yes. Is there a time that Julian Brandt could get injured again? Yeah. Look at Gittins. Look how much time he's getting there.
Yeah.
That's great stuff. Like, that's what the board at Dortmund want. They want the Gittins and the Adiemis and the Reynas, people they have invested time and money in to start playing well.
And so, I mean, there was conversations as far as saying, like, obviously during the match, watching it, because I started watching the replay before it ended, and you already told me that Gio scored. So I'm like, well, I'm curious when Gio's going to score. And watching the match, I'm sitting there like, well, he's just not being super instrumental in this match. He's sitting he's not really getting involved. That could be a coach's decision saying, hey, I want you higher up the pitch. I don't want you tracking back. I don't know, because I feel like if Gio wanted the ball more, he'd have to track back a little bit more. But a lot of people were saying, well, he's not introducing himself into the matchup. He's not doing this and that. Like, well, Gio is a combination player for Dortmund. He's going to receive the ball, one touch pass it, or maybe take a touch and then look for that distribution immediately. He's not going to be somebody who's just going to run the midfield per se. He's going to be combining with people, and that's how he was successful when he was playing with Bellingham and Holland. That's how he was successful. This current Dortmund team is not the Dortmund team that he was playing for when he was a consistent starter. They don't have that control. They don't have the midfield for that right now, it seems like.
Right.
So
You missed a good comment, by the way, by Tom about Jimmy apparently saying once again on the show that about Reyna's attitude. And he wants to Jimmy bring up Gio's attitude and dedication to the national team. What did he say, Tom? Because I'd like to know. And if you have a timestamp, let us know. If he's saying that it's not good, I don't understand anymore.
Yeah, so it's the way the team's playing right now. They're playing a lot of long ball to the striker. They're playing out wide. It's almost as if they're bypassing that midfield altogether. And it's tough to get brought into it. A lot of the midfield's not being included there. I brought up the stats for the during a Champions League match. I mean, Gio had just as many touches as anybody in that offensive half.
Yeah.
But saying that, I mean, when he had his opportunity, he took it. When he got the ball, I thought he looked good with the ball. I mean, he made a couple of forward-thinking opportunities, and maybe they got snuffed out. But he was still looking for those chances. So it's a different style team, and you know, as people come back from injury and Gio gets adjusted, I think it's gonna gel a little bit better. But I thought this was a overall a good start to his resurgence.
I think so. Like I didn't expect him at playing 2 games in a row to be completely back to fitness, but apparently they thought he was. But he looked not completely fit by say the 60th minute and then 65th. And then a little rusty here and there. But that's okay. He hasn't been playing with these guys for a long time now. So he's just getting back into the flow. I think we'll see more from him. I still don't understand this post. I'll let you read it out.
Johnny's saying that Derek jerked off to Morris during the Mexico match.
I did?
Yeah. Must have had big things to say about him, I guess. I don't know.
God damn. It's crazy because I just don't remember jerking off this much. I really don't.
Yeah.
I think I've been fair when I've been fair.
Yeah. Robin Hugh super chat, and this is the question he wanted to ask, but I think it's too many characters to fit in that super chat. So, question for Derek: should Jedi move to Liverpool? I was against it, but now I think he's good enough after the season performances. Thoughts?
I think
taking your bias of Fulham out of the equation.
I think the key here is, does Liverpool think he's good enough? And the answer is probably yes. And I think there are a lot of people out there who are like, well, you know, technically there's some issues with him, but if he's used in the right way, technically it doesn't matter. If you are Liverpool and you use Jedi the same way Fulham uses him, then you'll get the same results for the most part. You're just not going to be a tiki-taka guy. And Liverpool don't need to play that way with him. So they'll figure it out. Does it break my heart? Yes, because he was the best player on the pitch versus Liverpool this weekend. What a fun game to watch. And I couldn't be more proud of Jedi and Fulham in general. So, you know, I hate to lose him, but I do think he's probably going after the season. I do not see how he couldn't. They're going to be bigger teams. I don't know which team fits best for him. I don't know if it's Liverpool. I don't know if it's somebody else, but we'll find out. I'll be sad to lose him and be forced to watch Liverpool games if he's there. I mean, I don't hate Liverpool like I hate Chelsea and Man City, but I'll watch it. Frank Castler from 199. Landon and Lawless just want attention. I think they're fighting for stupidity attention. That's never good. And listen, we had Lawless on the show, and he admitted to us on the show he likes to troll. How did he put it, Brett? Anyhow, he likes to troll.
Yeah. No, I mean, he's got a master's. He's got a master's in trolling.
Yep. So I think this is just another troll. I think Landon actually believes what he's saying from his Landon Donovan focused lenses. Like, again, like Jimmy did earlier, Landon only sees soccer and the experience of playing as a professional through his own rose-tinted Landon Donovan lenses. He cannot be objective because he injects his own personal feelings and emotions into every analysis. And that's not what a good analyst does. A good analyst tries to take himself out of his shoes and put himself into the shoes of the player they are analyzing and figure out what do they think is best for them. Not, well, if I were Gio Raina, I'd just go play in the MLS. I would have stayed and played 300 games in the MLS and probably still got injured. So what's the point? What are you, a soothsayer? You can see in the future that for 300 games, Reyna would have played in MLS and never got injured? Really? You know that for a fact, Landon Donovan. No, you don't. Julian Vivas for $9.99. Thank you, brother. What players from MLS that are Americans can go to Europe in January?
I guess you could take them one question at a time. So what Americans can make the jump to Europe in January?
Well, I mean, there are players we wish would. I don't know if they will. Obviously, Diego Luna is a guy I think should get the hell out of MLS and go find something. I think John Tolkien's ready. I think Tolkien needs to go. I think there'll be bidders, too, in the Bundesliga for him. Those were the rumors. So those two pop out immediately. There's some Philly guys, maybe. McGlynn, but I don't know. He sounds like a kind of guy that might end up in the Scottish Premier League, so that's a little concerning. I don't know. What names do you got off the top of your head? But those are mine. Off the top of my head.
I mean, there are rumors with Jack McGlynn. Obviously, most people want Luna, but I don't see that happening this season. Maybe after this season.
What about goalkeepers, maybe? Schulte?
No. Maybe Schulte. I mean, that'd be the only one I can imagine U.S. goalkeeper making the jump at that point.
I mean, here's the real problem. Young players didn't get to play a lot this season, unfortunately. Young Americans and Americans in general in MLS playoffs didn't get to play that much. So it's really hard to see, but those are the players I'd like to see make that leap. I don't know if they will.
Yeah.
Blackburn could be in again for Maguire, but after the season Maguire had, I don't know about that anymore.
After two drop balls at this point, like one decline, one drop ball. I mean, do they go after for a third time? I don't know. He follows it up by saying also what Americans that are in Europe can make a move.
I don't know about make a move. I would say can start to get our attention, full attention. Dominic Downs scored again this weekend. Looks really good whenever he starts.
Got an assist as well.
For Kern, yeah. Matisse Albert, we've brought up many times here. I think that's a potential star in the making at Dortmund. He's 15 years old, playing with the U19s, and in certain games has dominated the games. So
I feel like we're kind of spinning his question because he's looking at options like Taylor Booth or Matt Turner making a move.
No.
Players who need to get out of their current situation, basically.
But where's Taylor Booth going to go? Go ahead, Eagles. Like, isn't Utrecht traditionally enough middle-of-the-road team in Holland? They might end up in the middle of the road by the end of the season, for all we know.
Yeah.
There's something wrong with Booth's confidence. I don't know what it is. It could be his health. He's been injured so many times that, it's really hard to say. Is this injury? Is it mental?
Well, with Booth, it's interesting in that sense because he was playing well, then he got injured, and then he got healthy and he had to fight his way back to his spot. He finally got his spot, and then he gets injured again. And then rinse and repeat. At some point, that's got to wear and tear down on your mentality, like you're saying.
Did I say Dominic Downs again?
Did you? Is everybody calling you out on it?
I don't know. Anyhow, I'm just going to say Downs from now on.
I thought you said Damien that time.
Might have. I don't know.
I don't see a single Dominic in here, so.
All right. So I really don't think that Booth, I mean, he could go play for Go Ahead Eagles or some promoted team coming up from like Volendam next season. That's fine. But I'd rather see him get healthy and fight. He didn't even dress again this weekend, so it makes you wonder, how healthy is he? Really? Yeah. How healthy is he? I mean, I think that could be the problem here. Anybody else?
Could you see Turner getting a season or a 6-month loan here to finish the season off? Because I mean, he's like vying for a second or third person spot, but he's kind of pointless for Palace at this point.
I mean, Turner needs to come. I mean, there's one guy I'd be okay coming back to MLS.
Yeah.
Moose is not going anywhere. They love him. They love him in AC Milan. The coach really likes him a lot. He's going to stay. He's not going anywhere. And by the way, he's getting enough playing time to justify staying at AC Milan. It's not
we know Luca De La Torre is on his way to MLS.
Yep, probably. He rode Pine this weekend.
Are there any other really bad situations that we can think of that are going to be contenders for an MLS or for a U.S. men's national team spot?
Well, some people are saying Richards needs to move. I mean, he got injured. He lost his starting role. Then he lost his bench role. That happens sometimes when you get injured that long time of a period. And if it goes on for the rest of the season, yeah, he might want to think about going to another team.
Prior to the injury and end of last season and stuff, I mean, he was being moved around to 6. He was playing center back. He was all over the place, and he was playing. So I mean, at that point, he again, just like Gio in this situation, he needs to get healthy. And then
this season's been poor. When he has played, he's been poor. So that's the other problem. When he has played earlier in the season, this has been not a good season for Richard so far. So yeah, I mean, he might want to consider that, or maybe he'll fight his way back into at least the bench and maybe starting 11. And eventually, maybe there'll be injuries and he can fight his way back in, like somebody else stole his spot while he was injured. So that happens in soccer. Richard stays in Milan. No, I don't see that happening. Yeah, I doubt Daniel. But anybody else? Want to throw out any more names? We're happy to talk about it. I don't see Zendejas going to Europe, unfortunately. Mexican
I don't know if that's unfortunately. I mean, the guy's like 5'4".
Yeah, but boy, did he have a good season. He had a great season.
That's fair. I don't know how his game will end up transitioning into a lot of the European leagues.
I think he play in Spain, Portugal,
possible.
Yeah, nowhere where it's like extremely physical. But I think that the thing with Zendejas is he did have such a great season with Club America, and he was the star in the playoffs, by the way, for Club America. He had
Pumar saying Porto's the rumor.
I think that would fit him okay. I don't know how much he'd get to play. I think he might want to go mid-table. Portugal, lower league, Spain.
I mean, how many more years does he have on his contract? I mean, Mexican teams have been well known and documented for not really transferring players out of.
That's the problem. They're not going to sell him.
Will a mid-table Portugal team be able to afford him?
No, they're not going to be able to afford him because he's basically. Let me put it this way: if Zendejas were still Mexican national team available, he would be a shoo-in call-up. A shoo-in. Mm-hmm. He's been the best player in the playoffs. He's been the best player in Club America. Well, maybe not the best, but certainly one of the best. He's the shining star on that team in these last 2 games versus Monterrey. You know who wasn't? Brandon Vasquez. He wasn't. He was a ghost in that second game. He started, by the way.
Oh, did he?
He was a ghost, yes. So he could go play in Holland. I think he could hack that too at 5'4". So
That's true. That's true. I guess Holland would be a viable option. And at that point, to your point, Portugal. I don't know how physical Portugal is. Though. I guess I don't really watch many, if any, Portuguese games.
it's not horribly brutal.
So I don't know. So I don't make an assertion assuming that he could succeed there without knowing anything about the league. So
Right. So yeah, I can't think of anybody else. I don't think Vasquez is obviously rumored to be going back to MLS.
San Jose, apparently.
And Sunday asked Scott about a 5% chance of escaping the clutches of Club America. They are not going to let him go, and they can afford to pay him just as much as a Dutch club or a mid-table Portuguese club.
Oh,
So,
I'd wager he probably gets paid more than he will if he goes. I'm sure he's getting paid well enough.
And he might probably get paid more after what he just did in the playoffs.
Yeah.
So there you go. All right, what else we got?
So this is the timestamp. Judgmental Deity says it's at 52, but for extra context, go to 51. So let's listen to a minute or so of this.
All right.
We'll break it up, of course, guys.
Doesn't just he didn't just become a starter because he scored a goal. He's still got some work to do. I'd like to believe in 2026 that he's gonna make it there, but it's a long time between now and then.
Hey, by the way, it's like Weston McKennie scoring a scissors kick goal against Manchester City in the Champions League, and you're gonna say, move out the way, you're displaced, gone. Like, what are you talking about? Yes, I love the idea of 210s, Christian Pulisic and Gio Raina in the midfield, and how dangerous that looks. Like, just thinking about the possibilities of those two playing next to each other in mid.
There.
I don't mind that thinking from Chuck.
But that would say is you play with the go back to the single pivot. Well, how would you even work that?
No, you just go back to Poach's 3 in the back. You could pull something like that off.
Sure.
With the wingers providing the width.
I mean, again, it would be Gio replacing somebody like Musa, because you'd still have McKennie and insert person with McKennie.
Correct.
There.
Well, no. Doesn't Musa doesn't he usually play that right wing back role for Poach? Yes, he does. Okay. So it's been way up Pulisic and Pepe last time. Way up Pulisic and Pepe, like way up playing more of the pinched in, and then Pulisic getting to go wherever he wants, and then having Musa provide the width outside of Weah on that right side as a right wing back. And on the left wing back side, it's Jedi, combining where usually Pulisic, who likes to creep to that left side as well. So, you're right. But I do think it's actually Reyna would replace Weah. Because he's not playing right wing back. He's not going all the way back like Musa does to help out one of the center backs play defense.
No, you wouldn't need to in that situation because you have Jedi pinching into an extra 6, and you have a stay-at-home Scally.
Well, when we did get cornered, we would play 5 in the back. And I don't see Reyna playing 5 in the back as a right wing back. I just don't see it.
No, I mean you still have McKennie and Tessman who can still pinch into that role. You don't necessarily need to have Gio as a wing back playing on the right side.
You do on defense when you're cornered. That's what Musa does. He drops all the way back to right wing back and plays defense.
I'm just saying you do have opportunities of, say, in a situation where Tessman could pinch back a little bit.
You
almost
could
as a third quote unquote actual true center back with Scally pushing wide, and you still have that 5.
You could.
Gio Pulisic could still pinch back into the midfield more, offering that out. But
that's pretty complicated thinking. But yeah, I mean it could be worked out. Sure.
Well, I mean, I was watching that last Jamaica game. Nobody would have predicted that shit from happening.
No, I agree. So you could work something like that out if you're Poach, for sure. But if he's going to play the Musa role as we've seen it so far, no. He could not play the Musa right wing back role that Poach has him playing as basically an attacking right winger who comes back and plays defense when they in a back 5 when we're playing defense.
Why not
So-
have? Why not? You remove Weah from being closer to the goal in that sense, and I like having Weah closer to the goal because I want him to shoot. But he is capable of playing that wing back when needed type of role.
Yeah, I don't know. We'll see how much in love poaches with Musa, because you could do that with Weah as well. And then you could fit Reyna in there where Weah was. But then you're moving Weah further away from the goal. So there's that. But he'll work it out. If he really wants to get those two on the field, he'll figure it out.
Mm-hmm.
Midfield with a 9 and 2 wingers. Oh my God. Let's go. I'm hyped for that.
See, Chuck's taking out the dual pivot in that sense.
Yeah.
And maybe you can get away with that with Jedi creeping up and adding as a dual pivot in the end.
And Frank makes a good point here for 199. Guest is coming back in February, maybe late January. Now we got to get that guy in there too.
Yeah.
I mean, these are champagne problems. Okay. I'd rather have these kind of problems than not have them, because all these guys are going to want to play, but there are only so many roster spots available. And if that's having Dest back, and is he going to take his spot back over from Scally, or is he going to be vying for that right wing back role with Musa? No, it'll be with Musa.
So,
Musa will lose his spot because guess what? Unlike Musa, Guest can do something in the final third.
Yeah.
Whereas Musa's proven he can't. He can't.
He said it's champagne problems. So
they are champagne problems for sure.
Thanks for that $1.99, Frank. Appreciate that, man.
Mm-hmm.
But you don't just walk in to the national team. There are a number of players who are performing to obviously not make it easy like that.
But also from a team culture standpoint, if you just because he had one good game, you're like automatic starter, you're setting a.
First off, nobody's saying that, right?
Nobody's saying that.
There may be some people out there saying that if Gio's getting called up, he's an automatic starter. But most people aren't saying that.
Nope, nobody is, because it's too complicated right now. You got a new manager named Poach, and he's going to try to figure out how to use. It's complicated. There are a lot of good players who do a lot of different things, good to great. So you're going to have to figure out how to make that mix work. It's not like just chucking it out in your. Obviously, Poach doesn't have a system in the classic way Berhalter does, because we saw a lot of revolving and moving parts in that game. It was very Dutch 1979, right? A lot of guys swapping positions, Jedi coming in and playing a holding mid role. I mean, that shit just wasn't happening under Berhalter. Was very different. And he had a very fixed system of how and the roles of each player. I think the coach is willing to explore a more loosely, but still, when necessary, tight group, but where there's more freedom and more artistry allowed.
I know we criticized Berhalter for doing it, but could you see Poach trying to utilize Gio Weston duel to try to run the midfield?
As long as you got Tessman right behind him to back him up.
I don't know how that would work out then in the end, because that'd be one too many players again.
It is.
You come across that problem. So.
Yep. I know. It's champagne problems. I love having them, frankly, especially with Des back. Now you're like, holy shit. And now we're what? Jimmy still wants to talk about the one MLS player that makes the team, the two, Schulte and whomever.
Of late, it's been Robinson, yeah.
Schulte and Robinson? Really? Is that what we're going to talk about here? This is what their whole segment was about? Seriously? Give me a break.
A pretty interesting precedent as a coach that you're making or if you just do it for Gio, you're making a pretty intense exception for
no,
for one
you're
player.
Not. No, I'm sick of this. It's not an exception. Every fucking country in the world does this. They say, okay, he's only 3 games back into the season, but he's one of the best players on our team. So he's coming. He's going to be on our national team. Every fucking country does this. It is not an exception. And I don't think we have enough information on Poach right now to make any sense of how he's going to make these decisions, but I guarantee it's going to be closer to how the rest of the world makes these decisions. This is not an exception. If Reyna gets injured again, he's not coming. But if he's playing regularly, he's coming.
Yeah.
Period.
Simple
End
as
of
that.
story, Jimmy. This is not complex.
then obviously the argument at that point comes to who's starting, and that's up to coach to decide. But I mean, we've seen Tillman called in the last couple windows, and he still just hasn't quite grasped the international level or something, and just isn't clicking with him yet. But if Gio comes back, he's going to get a look at it, and then at that point, even though Tillman's starting with PSV, if Gio comes, and we've seen in the past where Gio is on the same camps as Tillman, and all of a sudden you're like, well, it's night and day. Who should be the starter there?
You know what the big problem with Tillman is? So when he goes to play CONCACAF games, for instance, he's just not used to, and this is fair to say, the speed and the physicality of CONCACAF. And when you're used to playing Go Ahead Eagles and Herenveen, who, by the way, they won fair and square against PSV. But if those were the teams you're used to playing against, they're not closing you down. Mm-hmm. They're not tackling you to the ground. They're not, elbowing you to the skull. That's not what's going on when they play the lesser teams in Holland, which is most of them. Unless you're talking about Feyenoord, Ajax, Utrecht, I guess this season. Yeah. But other than that, that's not what he's seeing on an everyday basis. Okay, you can say Champions League. Okay, yeah, there are not many of those games so far. But why is he playing better in Holland for his club generally? He's only had one good Champions League game, by the way. He's looked pretty poor in Champions League as well.
I remember in a strong and fast physical league in Scotland, he was relatively. I mean, he had some shining moments, but overall, it was okay.
It was okay. It was pretty good, but he was younger there then. Well, he's not so young anymore now. So now we want to see him adapt quicker to the physicality of CONCACAF, and sometimes the relatively less time you have on the ball that the other team decides it's gonna press or play high. So most teams in Holland do not play high and pressing against PSV. It just doesn't happen. They're the team with the possession, then the ball, and they control usually the pace of game. And that should be the case for us, but there's a lot more physicality in CONCACAF. So he's going to have to get used to that, and his teammates. I'm not sure he really understands what's going on around him so far. That's got to get fixed too. So, and being played out of position when he came in last time, he played as one of the pivots. It's like, no, I wouldn't put him there. I really wouldn't. But even when they moved him up and McKennie came back and played the pivot, that wasn't very good either.
I know he got crapped on in that performance, but I thought it was actually a relatively decent performance by him defensively.
I didn't think it was horrible. I think defensively he did a lot of hard work. Mm-hmm. But going forward, not so much, And that's what we're expecting from a 10. And that's why Reyna is still 2 levels above where Tillman is right now. Because none of that's a shock to him. He plays CONCACAF teams. It's no big deal for him. Yeah. He's ready for it. He knows what that's all about. Tillman's just figuring it out. He
grew up playing it.
And I think that Tillman's also just figuring out, because I think his expectation was, well, these teams aren't going to be very good. Well, they may not be very good, but they're intense. They're intense. They bring it. So, okay, Caden Clark has a hot mom. Thank you, Fumar, for that info. Are we about done with this, or is this still going on?
Let's listen to a little bit more, because they talked about his attitude. And the whole reason we brought this up, and haven't about his attitude yet. So,
there's been history of him feeling like maybe he doesn't take the national team as serious as he should, or doesn't just there's been some intimations of that throughout the years. And so if you want him to actually give everything that he has every time he steps on the field, then there has to be some element of earning it and wanting it. And not only for him individually, but also the messaging that you're sending to the rest of the team. So
they're not facts. They're not facts. We had the World Cup incident, and since then we have heard nothing but super positivity from country, club, and every manager that has ever coached Gio Raina. This argument is stupid. This is more stupidity. They're not facts. We are well removed from that at this point. And I do not think, and I've seen no evidence of Reyna coming to the national team recently that would lead me to think that he shows up and does not really put all his focus into it. I think there are 2 goals versus Jamaica, when he missed last healthy, you can point to, where he assisted Haji right on both.
Well, he also looked pretty intent on making the U.S. better when playing in Nations League finals.
Sure.
So some really great performances until the Canadian player broke his leg. So I don't know. There's like you said, there's the World Cup incident, and under Berhalter. But aside from that, I mean, I don't know.
I don't either. Well, there is nothing. There is no other press. There are no other media. There's no other reports. There's no other players that have come out. There's no leaks. There's no nothing of how bad of a fucking human being Gio Raina is. Only that his best friends, Bellingham said, my best friends is Gio Raina. Holland loved Gio Raina. Still does. They stay in touch. His teammates do not hate him. This is a false argument. It's false. I don't know how many words to say it to we're blue in the fucking face. It's bullshit. It's people who don't read the Dortmund press, the local press, or the national press, and have not been paying any attention to it at all. They use that one incident and they just project their own personal fucking bias and post bullshit, and they know nothing. We won't see Balogun. Okay, well, we won't see him again until 2025. Yeah. Okay.
I just keep bringing this up, Derek, because of that one little throwaway comment when I was like, "Oh, he re-injured his shoulder. This might not be good." And like, we'll just pop it back in. We'll be fine.
Pop it back in. Put some tape on it. But apparently, it's pretty bad.
It's like every window, the injury is just getting worse and worse. Like he's going to be out for the next game. Okay, he's going to be out for a couple of weeks. Now he's going to be out for a couple of months and have to do surgery.
Shoulder blade herpes. Yeah, I mean, this is too bad. Certainly, I would like to have Pepe and Balogun at games going forward. But what are you going to do? He's out.
Yeah, we have 4 months. I mean, he's going to miss the Nations League, but who knows what's going to happen in 3 months where Sargent is. Maybe he's going to call in somebody like a Damian Downs.
I would love to see that, but I don't think it's happening.
Yeah.
I mean, really, when Poach said, I've been talking to a lot of dual nats, he meant a dual nat. One. Because Goliosha's the only one anyone he confirm he talked to. No Arnie, no Brown, no Downs. Who's he talking? Who'd he talk to? Who are all these? He said he used an S. That's plural. He talked to players with an S. Who were all these players? Because no one can. All we get in the press is Henri Chase saying, no one's ever contacted me. Nathaniel Brown, no one's ever contacted me. And if we're going to a totally abandon dual nat strategy, that is foolish. Especially at center back and left back. Especially.
Yeah.
All right. T says for $5.99. Thank you, brother. PSV is playing amateurs tomorrow. They should just give Des minutes, laughing out loud, having withdrawals. Yeah, he won't. He's not ready yet, although he is training. He is in training. I don't believe he's in full training yet.
Yeah.
He's running around with the team, but not in practice mode, full practice mode. So
and I understand having the whole withdrawals and everything like that, but I'd be more concerned about him playing against amateurs or or third division teams in Holland.
Getting hacked.
Yeah.
Yep.
I don't even want to take that chance.
I believe you'll probably see the second team play, or the bench guys play.
I wonder if Ledesma might get a chance to play.
No, he's injured.
He is now.
Yeah.
I wondered if he's going to get a look at a midfield in this match.
Yeah, he's injured. So, nope. He might have had he stayed healthy, but so anyhow, no Balogun. We're used to all these injuries, by the way, at this point. It doesn't even faze me.
Yeah.
It really doesn't. AC Milan are closing on a new deal for Pulisic after an excellent season. New contract valid until 2028, plus one more year option or straight to 2029. Pulisic will, I mean, these are way in the future numbers, years. Pulisic will be among the best paid players at Milan, around 4 to 5 mil net per year. Yeah, he'll make good money.
Yeah.
I doubt he's going to stay that long. I really do. I don't.
Well, all AC Milan is doing is they're assuring his value and what they can get in return from him.
I'm just saying, players these days just don't stick around teams very long anymore. You know?
Yeah. I mean, if Pulisic continues to have the seasons he's having like he is now, minus the injury, of course, I mean, other teams are going to come knocking. And the reason AC Milan are locking him up to that point, extending his contract, or giving him a new contract for that matter, is to boost his value for him, them.
Yep.
You know, they're going to keep him for at least another couple seasons, and then at that point, they have a more negotiating power, saying, "No, we want $40 million for Pulisic."
I mean,
they
4
paid
years.
18, yeah, they paid 18 for him, so I mean that's a hell of a return in the end.
So basically, you're saying we've locked him in. So if you want him, depending on how the contract is, been put together,
yeah,
it could cost a team a lot of money to strip them of Christian Pulisic. It better be a shitload of money, and then they will part with him. And as you say, this isn't saying we're dedicated to Pulisic for 4 years. It's more like saying we're dedicated to getting paid down the line because, we're betting on him drawing some team in who's going to be willing to pay big, fat bucks for this player eventually. And we want to have him locked in. So we can't. They're going to have to negotiate with us. Right. All right.
Obviously, the other big talking point with this new contract is the 4 to 5 million net per year being one of the highest paid, among the best paid players in Milan. Because people are looking at EPL type numbers and stuff like that, and you're going 4 to 5 mil, really? That's all he's getting paid?
Yeah, I mean,
it's net, so it's after all the deductibles and whatever gets taxed on and shit.
It's good for Italy, I suppose.
Well, and as I mentioned in a response, like a lot of people questioning the money and obviously how much more because people are like, oh, he'd make 3 times that in MLS. Like a lot of people who are doing this, so that's not his only source of revenue.
No, anybody watch Pulisic commercials? They're on all the time.
He's making more than enough money that he's looking at the 12 million or whatever he might make it MLS going someday.
Not
now. Someday.
Yeah. Call me when I'm 30.
Yeah. When this
32.
contract expires.
Yeah. Call me when I'm 30, 31. Yep. We'll talk.
Yeah.
Yep. All right. What else we got here?
Up to the Yanks abroad.
John says Goliosha's the same book as Che with me. They think they are better than they are. I would say, yes, that's a similarity. However, Goliosha plays for an actual real football team in the championship. Go look up where
a real team.
Go look up where Che plays.
Yeah.
Go look up where Justin Che plays. Anybody, go ahead. He plays for no one Central. All right. He doesn't even play for Ankara Gachu, Brett. That would be a step up from where he's playing.
Yeah.
All right. Yanks abroad. Yanks abroad. Yanks abroad. All right, here we go. Friday, McKenzie, 90 in a win. Good for him. I think that people just got to continue to realize that this guy is taking some major steps forward. And I think somebody else posted earlier, he might be our best center back right now. I'm not going to argue against that. I think he could be. With Richards drop off.
Yeah, he's definitely getting the minutes and
Toulouse. Yeah.
Very possible.
I think he's looked really impressive and did again this weekend. And Toulouse are charging. They're winning a lot of games. So, and he's not been the problem when they haven't. Kevin Paredes is still injured. John Brooks still injured. Novakovic for Bari, 61 minutes and a loss. We already talked about Zendejas and Vasquez. Zach Booth, 20 minutes for Volendam and a tie. They currently sit second in the Dutch table, Division 2. Rick Van Hees, 90 minutes for Utrecht 2 in a loss. They're at the bottom of the table. John Hilton, 90 plus 3 for Dordrecht in Holland's second division in a loss, along with Kevin Osundina, who played 82 Saturday. Haji Wright, still injured. Brendan Aronson versus Dwayne Holmes. I got up and watched that. Why? I don't know. I'm an idiot. Aronson had a pretty mediocre game, and Dwayne Holmes had a pretty nondescript game as well. Yeah. Holmes went 30. Aronson went 65 in that tie. Jedi, however, this is the game. I took a little baby nap and then woke up for the Fulham game. Of course, I watch every Fulham game every weekend, and he went 90 spectacular minutes, 2 assists, could add 3, honestly. And in that tie versus Liverpool, I'm sure they're bummed that they didn't get the win out of that one. Liverpool were playing with 10 men for a long time, though. And so they should have won that game. They got just lost focus at the very end there. Haji Wright is injured. Aiden Morris is injured. Lyndon Gooch back. And he got an assist for Stoke, and then he went 30 in that tie. Lyndon Gooch, often forgotten player. Ethan Horvathed it for 90 for Cardiff. Balogun's injured. Scally went a really great 86 for Mönchengladbach. I sometimes think we forget about Scally too. Really great game for Gladbach. Second great game in a row. Really good game. They win 4-1. Pifak, 34 minutes for Union Berlin. Still can't score. Can't figure out how to do it anymore. And that tie for Union Berlin. Way up, I think we may have mentioned 65, McKennie 90. Yeah,
against Venezia. Yeah.
Not as good as a game as the last one we watched them play in the Champions League, right?
Sure.
We didn't get a scissor kick goal or anything spectacular from McKennie. So they pulled way out in the 65th, mostly because he just wasn't having much effect. And then that was against Busio, who I thought had a pretty good game. I was kind of impressed by Busio.
Mm-hmm.
And, I mentioned that he probably won't contribute much to the big boy team a couple of years ago. I think I said that.
You've eaten your crow sense.
Yeah, I have. And I may be wrong about that.
About eating the crow, or?
I may be wrong that he might have more of an important role than I thought. He did not look out of place against a way better team. He's one of the reasons that was a tie game. Luca De La Torre in the 18, Fossey 90 minutes for Standard Liège in a tie. Thank God they got a tie because they've been losing a lot of games lately, Liège. Tillman 90, Pepe 23. Ledesma did not dress because of injury. Dest is still injured in that loss to Heerenveen. Simply, they looked flat. All of them looked flat. Okay? I don't know what's going on there. They didn't look like they came to play. Heerenveen showed up to play, but they didn't. And you know who looked horrible? Luke de Jong. Like, if this continues, Pepe's going to start every game for the rest of the season.
When was the last time he scored a goal?
It's been a while.
Yeah.
It's been a good while since Luke de Jong did much of anything, actually. Not just score a goal, do anything. And he's slower than Pepe. Pepe's just as good in the air. Pepe's a better finisher this season. I don't know what's going on. A little age, maybe caught up.
Yeah.
To Luke de Jong.
Weird though. You can go from I don't know how if it was a record-breaking season or anything like
Close.
That. He had a crazy amount of stupid goals last season to this season, so.
Yeah, it's been
maybe age has caught up.
A little bit of a queef of a season so far. I don't know if that was a fart sound, but I thought it sounded more like a queef. Although a queef usually sounds more like, wow, kind of like that. All right, Donovan Pines, 90 minutes in a win for Barnsley as Slonina Horvathed it for 90 minutes. Didn't even dress.
Oh.
Didn't
Oh.
even dress. So he
I
hasn't
thought when you say Horvath, it usually means he just rode pine.
Yeah, he rode pine, just not. He didn't dress and ride pine. He's gone. He's going back to Chelsea. He'll be loaned out somewhere else as part of the Chelsea loan army. He did get his chance. He did at the beginning of the season. He started
third or half of this first half of the season,
and he played himself right out of a starting position and right off the bench. So I know we were all excited about Slonina, but I think we might have to hit the brakes a little here. This is a wake-up call. Meanwhile, a guy that never gets talked about, Castaneda, in Bundesliga 2, continues to be a really great player for Paderborn and kind of the heart and soul of that team as like a, 20-year-old, 19-year-old? What the fuck is he? It's unbelievable. 69, minutes and a tie. Jonathan Klinsmann in Italy's Serie B went 90 minutes in another win for Cesena. They are now in 5th. Toljan went 90 in a win for Sassuolo. It takes me a minute because I don't write down the name of the teams.
Yeah. So
I just write the name in minutes, and sometimes I forget the name of the teams. Matt Turner in the 18, he Horvathed it for 90. Chris Richards didn't even dress. No report of an injury at all. Koleosho, 90 minutes in a win in the second division championship. Caleb Wiley still has the herpes. What was it? Was it calf herpes? Or was it it was some sort of disease? It probably wasn't herpes. It wasn't chlamydia either, or gonorrhea. I don't know. We can't remember, but Caleb Wiley's injured.
Oh, here you go. Here's an answer.
Oh, yeah, Richards was having a baby. Not him himself, his girlfriend. I don't think he's married, so that would be his girlfriend. The shingles. That's always a fun one to get. Oh, the herpes. That's a great skit, by the way, by Dave Chappelle, with his venereal disease skit, with the all the talking Muppets in front of the kids singing about different venereal diseases. Got to watch it if you haven't seen it. On the herpes, and they have little crabs. We're the crabs. We pinch your balls. Yeah. Anyhow, great stuff. Entertaining. All right. Then Leonard Maloney's injured. Is he? Or is he just getting ready for a winter move?
Getting ready for a move, I imagine, at this point.
Yes.
My leg, it hurts.
My balls itch a lot. All right. Gio Raina.
We failed to do we talked about Maloney during that European players that need a move.
Oh, yeah, but he's not need a move. He is moving.
Yeah, he's not in need of a move. He just wants to get the hell out.
He didn't sign an extension. He's like, hey, Maloney, Leonard, could you sign this? Nah, I'm moving on. You guys are going down. I'm out of here. All right.
Word pass.
Yep. Gio Raina, 76, goal. We already talked about him extensively. Nathaniel Brown, who hasn't got a call yet from Pochettino or anybody on Pochettino's staff, got another goal for Frankfurt and went 85 minutes. They lost, but kind of one of the best players on the pitch. Might want to check that out, Poach.
Did he get a goal and an assist?
Just a goal from what I remember.
Okay.
Cardoso, 90 minutes and a win. Brian Reynolds and Griffin Yao lost again at Westerlo. They're enjoying losing lately. 76 minutes for Reynolds, 30 for Yao. Yao coming off the bench. Zahir Al-Islam still injured for St. Truden. Yes, that's a real person. Kaveh Zahir Al-Islam. Yes, I know how to pronounce his name. I worked on it. Paxton Aronson, 90 minutes and a tie for Utrecht. Booth didn't even make the bench. He could be injured for all we know. No report. Dominic Downs, 84 minutes and a goal and an assist. That's who you might be thinking about.
Damien. Sorry, I thought you were talking about Damien Downs.
Or is it Damien?
Damien.
Yeah. So Downs, 84, goal and assist and a win for Kern, or Cologne, as they're known, in the United States of America. I visited Cologne. You actually visited Kern. But okay.
It actually looks more like colon.
Well, it's Koln.
Yeah,
Kern.
Colon.
There needs to be another O after that L.
Well, same thing with Cologne.
No, that has two O's. Köln only has one O. Koln. Köln.
So there's two different spellings for it.
No, there's only one spelling for Köln.
Why do we call it Cologne?
No, Cologne is what the English call Cologne, and everybody else says it in English as Cologne. I don't know why they do that.
I think that's all I was asking.
Because that's the same reason we call it Bayern Munich when it's Bayern München. Like, we just make up new words for cities.
Okay.
I don't know why we do that. Why can't we just say München? Why is it so hard? We don't call Kaiserslautern. We don't just make up a new word for Kaiserslautern. We just call it Kaiserslautern. I don't understand it. All right. We don't say Dortmouth. We say Dortmund, right? Mund is mouth, by the way, in German. Okay. We don't call it Dortmouth. We call it Dortmund. Why we make up new words for teams, I don't know. Anyhow, I'm sure there's a history to it. Some English guy made it up. Julian Green, 78 minutes. Max Dietz is injured again, unfortunately. They still got the win for Greuther Fürth, but they're still sitting near to the bottom than they are to the top. Johan Gomez, 68 minutes for Braunschweig. We could rename Braunschweig to like Brauwig, so it's easier for Americans. I went and visited Brauwig.
Thank you. I would appreciate that if you guys were considering me.
Anyhow, Braunschweig now sits 17th out of 18. You know what Braunschweiger is, right? That's liverwurst. That's where it comes from. We call it liverwurst in the United States because it's easier than saying Braunschweig. All right. Adams went 22 today. At midfield, got a handball in the box and gave up a goal. But, yeah. I mean, 22 minutes, he played fine.
Jumping back to the liverwurst thing, would that just be like an English translation of a German word?
No, they call it liverwurst in Germany, too, in places. But, like, where it was originated from, I believe, was Braunschweig, which is where, you know, if you can still go to Kroger and some of the liverwursts are listed as Braunschweiger. So,
okay.
All right. Jonathan Gomez. You go to Greece to disappear. You go to Greece to disappear. You go to Greece and people say, where the fuck did you go? I don't know. You go to Greece to disappear. So anyhow, Jonathan Gomez, he's played a whole 170 minutes this season so far for PAOK in Greece. He was in the 18, didn't play. So he's going to stick 270 minutes. You go to Greece to disappear. You go to Greece to disappear. Oh, my dear. All right. Conrad went 18 whole minutes for Lausanne in Switzerland. You go to Switzerland to kind of get lost. You go to Switzerland.
Not quite disappear. Yeah.
When your career is crushed. All right. Trusty, 45, CCV 90. I'm not sure why Trusty was pulled. I know he didn't have the best of first halves, but that seemed harsh to pull him. So I'm thinking maybe a niggle or an injury. Maybe. I don't know, a knock. I didn't think they would pull him that fast, but they did pull him. So it ended up being Scales and CCV finishing out the game. And that is your Yanks Abroad report. Dun, dun, your Yanks Abroad report. I'm trying different themes out here. All right.
Yeah. Man, so I did not get to watch many games this weekend. This was the last week of the month for Jackson's 2 indoor seasons. And his games always fall in the games I want to watch. I always have to go back and rewatch.
Yeah. You don't need to make. There's no. You don't need because you got kids, dude.
Yeah. I try to catch at least a couple games a weekend. Yeah. There's some weekends where I'm just, I'm like, don't got games. I'm just like, all right, I can sit down and watch, But I'm in the midst of many seasons. We just signed him up again for his Sunday league again, and then the Saturday league I still have to sign him up for. But this past weekend, both his indoor game and his futsal game, he had no subs, so he played both games.
Good.
Yeah.
That I'm sure he's a little tired after that.
Oh, he was wiped. Yeah.
Oh, I love that. It's like, good night. No, I want a snack. He's just like, what out. No arguments, nothing.
Yeah. And I told the parents on the Sunday league, because like the league says, like, if the roster should be six to 8 people.
Yeah.
And I'm like, well, we're going 6 then. Because I would much rather a struggle for or subs, but the players get a max amount of playing time as possible, most touches, rather than doing what I've seen a lot of the teams do. They have like complete line changes. I'm like, okay, that's fine, but you're not playing for anything. You're not winning a trophy. Who cares if you win the futsal league? You know, it's about going out there and getting as much time and touches as possible.
Right. Hey, is that it?
That's all we got. Yeah.
All right. So, so apparently these drones that are out there over New Jersey are they're flying all over apparently, but they have honed in on all the stepsister and stepbrother relationships in New Jersey, and they're recording them and filming them. So why the government won't tell us about that, I don't know what, but these are the stepsister, stepbrother drones.
There we go.
They're tracking these relationships to see whether or not they last and whether or not there's any hot sex involved. So
they're keeping it off the books so Doge doesn't come out and axe that program.
They don't want that program axed. No, but seriously, why can't they just tell us what it is if they know what it is? Just tell us. We're big boys. We can handle it.
Didn't somebody from the government or whatever come out and say like, oh, these are Iranian drones?
They're not. No, they're Iranian drones. They would have been shot out of the sky by now.
Exactly. Yeah, we've talked about this before. But yeah.
I mean, I don't know who that dude was. A Republican dude, I think, that came on one of the shows and was like, "Yeah, they're Iranian, all right." Well, they wouldn't still be up there if they were Iranian.
They're one of a couple countries that have that mothership technology.
Unless they've got some deadly disease they're about to drop on us, and they're threatening if you blow up one, the rest of them will drop it. We'll drop this deadly disease all over New Jersey. And then I'm like, it's New Jersey. I mean, it's already a garbage land. I'm just kidding. That's the old New Jersey joke, right? Yes. Because they had more garbage pits and garbage junkyards, or what do they call those, landfills, than any other state at one point. Oh, that's where all the garbage goes, New Jersey. I don't know if that's still true. I think at some point New Jersey's like, nah, it's enough. We've taken enough of New York's garbage. We're not taking any more. We're not doing that anymore. So, no.
Just do what the Europeans do and incinerate the shit.
Well, that is bad for the atmosphere, Brett. Well, I don't know if you knew that.
They have clean incinerators, Derek, where you're talking about a small percentage. Instead of, it's not like an open pit fire where you're just like,
okay. I thought that
was whoosh.
That's what I thought you were talking about there for a second.
No,
just light it on fire.
That's how a lot of the tiny island nations end up having to do it.
Yeah.
Like, right. We don't have enough land to bury this shit. We're just gonna burn it. Set the fire up. Let's go.
All right. I want to thank everyone for showing up tonight on a Monday night football game. Monday night. Yeah, it was a lot of fun. I know I got a little crazy tonight, but it felt good to get it out. It really did. And I hope you felt good about me feeling good about me getting it out. And it's like taking a good solid poo, you know, sometimes it just feels great. That might be because it was stimulating my prostate as it came out. I don't know. I wonder about that sometimes. But anyhow, until the next time on the Straight Red Card, we love you. Good night. We'll see you Thursday.
That hurt.
I'm really proud of the way that the guys just put in the shit.
Hey, what's it like in Brazil right now? Is it warm? Yeah. It's always hot, huh? Yeah.
You really suck. This sucks more than anything that I've ever sucked before.
You getting that ass, Larry? Know what I mean? You getting that ass, Larry. That's what the fuck you do.
We are enjoying a lot about this time here in...
Why are you holding up a card to indicate a penalty? Like, there's so many different things you can do and you decide to hold up a card? That's insane to me.